Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Stelmack, and today you are listening to another episode of the Sacred Heart Open Forum podcast. Today I'm joined by my co hosts.
James Bona.
Aiden Knapp.
And Joe Mike.
Today's topic revolves around New Year's resolutions. As we all know, 2020 is coming to an end in a few weeks, one of the most interesting years in recent history. And as always, with the end of a year and the coming of a new year, this concept of New Year's resolutions comes up. And so we're going to talk about today how we feel about them as a whole. Do we make them ourselves? For a little background, in 1740, John Wesley, who founded Methodism, which is a Protestant denomination, had created a covenant renewal service, which was held on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, and people prayed and read scripture, and it kind of served as a modern origin of this concept of New Year's resolutions, and it just evolved from there. So I think I'll open the floor up to all of you guys about what do you think about resolutions, the concept of New Year's resolutions?
I think I speak for the other seniors here when a big New Year's resolution for us is probably going to be to actually do stuff on time and to not procrastinate because especially due to the circumstances surrounding 2020, senioritis is hitting very hard. I know for me. So that's one of my big resolutions is to not procrastinate as hard since I think completely cold turkeying procrastination is gonna need some work.
I think that they're great. The ideal of it's very great. Like the renewal of a new year period is a very nice concept. I just think that, the common joke is you can't keep your New Year's resolution. So anyone who does, I'm very amazed by that. I think it's good to have them though, because even if you only do it for like January or February, you still did it. But I think it is good to try to keep it throughout the year and kind of make that happen to like a lifestyle.
Yeah, like the concept behind it is really nice. It's all about self improvement, right? But I mean, coming from personal experience, I actually don't really set New Year's resolutions, and maybe like I don't know, 2 years ago I did try to, but I realized firsthand that it's very hard to keep them, and pretty much you should just be setting goals all year anyway, and it's kind of like New Year's. We place a big emphasis on it, but it's good to try to work on goal setting all year if you can, rather than just leaving it all for the new year, because it is very hard to maintain any kind of routine that you're not really used to.
Yeah, I feel like it's an interesting thing because, like, on one hand, they are good because you can set goals for yourself and try and better yourself. But on the other hand, I feel like almost the fact that like there's this perception that either you're going to fail because it's a New Year's resolution, like the concept of labeling a goal as a New Year's resolution only just makes it worse. Like, you know what I mean? Like would you have failed if you set this in July, but because it's a New Year's resolutions and you think, oh, everybody's doomed to fail them. Like I don't know. What do you think? Like
Yeah, it's like you kind of give yourself some more like I guess you can say leeway to fail it. It kind of makes you a little less motivated. You're like, well, it's a New Year's resolution. Usually people don't fulfill those, so I can see where you're coming from with that.
It's kind of like everyone else isn't doing it. So if I don't do it, I'm not worse. I'm just the same as everyone else when you could be better than everyone else. But I think people use it as an excuse.
Yeah, I also think that somewhat the idea of New Year's resolution is a bit, I guess, not modernized because why should you wait until New Year? I do get the whole like mantra behind it, like New Year, new me. I understand that, but why should we wait until like this arbitrary date to, see change in ourselves and change period? Like, if you want to change yourself in, let's say, April, do it in April. Don't wait until the New Year's.
and I think that's exactly what like the whole thing about New Year's and why I think a lot of people are opposed to it. It's just like do try and be the best you whenever you can be. And James, you had alluded to a resolution resolutions for 2021. But before we get to that, did any of you make resolutions for 2020 that, and if so, did they actually happen or did you fail on them?
I didn't.
Yeah, actually, I did not make any resolutions either. And honestly, if I did, and even if I was going strong until March, the pandemic probably would have put an end to those resolutions. So maybe it's better that I didn't.
Well, I made
Yeah, I
several.
guess not. Oh, go
Oh no,
ahead.
you go.
Go ahead. Yeah. I guess it's better to just not get your hopes up and then just go with whatever happens.
I also made no resolutions, so I'm glad that all of us are in the same boat.
2021 is just around the corner. Do you have any resolutions for 2021 about anything? Sports, academics, whatever, socially, whatever.
Yeah, I think I like I said before, I never really was into the whole idea of it, but I think that the whole concept of goal setting and trying to better yourself is a very important part of life, and if it can be a way to motivate people during a time where there's really not much motivation to go around, then honestly set some resolutions. Really go for it. Try to crush those dreams. I think that this year it's definitely a great way to kickstart something that's going to be special, and then come maybe 3 or 4 months down the line, maybe when the pandemic is starting to finally ease up, you're going to be a better person. You're going to come out and feel like you weren't just shell shocked once everything starts getting better.
Yeah, I also have some. Like I mentioned previously, I don't usually make resolutions, but I think that from 2020, 2021 is going to be an exception since this year was very odd to say the least. And one of my resolutions is probably going to be like to try and have a sports season. I know that's not really something I can affect, but like that probably wouldn't have been like a hope, I guess would be a better way to put it, if it hadn't been for 2020. And as I mentioned previously, procrastination.
Yeah, and I think another thing too is like everybody always talks about how terrible this year was and 2021 has to be better because 2020 sucked. But I think one spot where these resolutions could come in is if you truly want 2021 to be better, like do something about it, If you're trying to get, I don't know, if you're taking an AP class and you want to get a certain score on the exam, like tell yourself I want to get a 4 or a 5, whatever it may be, because 2021 won't be a good year unless for each person unless you do something to make it good.
Yeah, that goes great. There's a cliche quote that I always think about, but it really does ring true. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can control how you respond to them and the approach you take to make yourself better.
Yeah, like Aiden and Nate said, actually, I'm gonna try to be more positive, which some people who know me might be like, wow, Jill, you're gonna try to be more positive. Good luck with that. But I think it's very important, and I think everyone after this year really needs to be, because if you're like, well, everything sucks, like last year sucked, this year's gonna suck. But if you think that, then it is gonna suck. You can't just think away and then expect something to be a different way.
Okay, well, does anybody have anything else they would like to close off the episode with? Any final advice for people making resolutions, anything like that?
I'd just like to echo what Jill just said, where, like, basically you put out what you want to receive. Basically, that whole belief of karma and the universe, where, like, if you put out negative energy, you should expect it back. Or if you put out positive energy, you should expect it back. And I think that's just something we should really be looking towards in 2021. It's just, making the best out of a year. It's not going to be 2020, so like take what you can get, silver lining and all that.
Yeah, honestly, I would say just try your best with any resolutions you do make, and realize that it's been a very, very hard year. Remember to cut yourself some slack here and there, and just overall be happy. It's a whole new year. We're finally putting this one behind us. So let's go into this with a positive attitude and be ready for a nice fresh start.
Well, if that does it for everybody, that'll be the end of this episode of the Open Forum podcast. Thanks for tuning in.